Yanshulo to take the session. Please, sir.
Madam Della Sona, coordinator of this program, all the members of state curriculum group and all the members of focus groups, 25 focus groups. So I am thankful to the DERT, director and coordinator, for inviting me to present an overview of NEP 2020. As you must have understood that the focus group papers that you are going to, or position papers that you are going to prepare each focus group, they are not independent. They are interconnected. It means that everybody or every focus group, whether it is adult education or teacher education or environmental education, they should also know about what is happening in other position papers or other focus groups. And what I mean to say that this is in continuum. So everybody should also know about in a holistic manner about what are the key recommendations of NEP 2020, because when we are preparing position papers, that is the background, that is the main document, NEP 2020. So let me share my screen here. Is it visible, madam? Is my screen visible? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. So, this is about National Education Policy 2020, an overview. And because already the policy came more than 1 year back, and we have attended many programs, many some structured programs, or from different media, or from online webinars, like that. But in this session, we will have a overview of all the recommendations, or the key recommendations of National Education Policy 2020. So coming to the national education policies in India, so far independently India has seen 3 national policies. One is National Education Policy 1968. Of course, that was, the name was like National Policy on Education. And similarly, after 18 years, we saw another policy, that is 1986, which was again modified due to change of government in the year 1992. And the current policy, the present policy, that National Education Policy 2020, came after a long gap, that is 34 years. And in the meantime, we have entered into 21st century. And lots of skills and competencies are required of the teachers as well as students. These are called 21st century skills. And these skills have been appropriately, the policy has tried to integrate these 21st century skills and competencies into a school curriculum. Coming to the evolution of these policies, you know, the first policy, that is in serial number 2, National Policy on Education 1968, it came to implement the recommendations of Kothari Education Commission, or Education Commission 1964-66, which was a comprehensive, commission which gave a report like education and national development. So then second policy, that is National Policy on Education 1986. It came to implement some of the recommendations of 42 Constitutional Amendment 1976. Actually, now power cut off. So, am I audible? Am I audible? Hello? Am I audible? Sorry? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
So, National Policy on Education 1986, which was further modified in 1992, it came to implement some of the philosophy of 42nd Constitutional Amendment 1976, that mostly Panchayat Raj system and primary education was transferred to Panchayat Raj, and it talked about decentralization of administration, so on and so forth. And this third National Education Policy 2020, it is just to implement or to incorporate the recommendations of TSR Subramaniam Committee 2016. This TSR Subramaniam Committee was constituted to recommend the government with regard to overhaul the system of education. And the Subramaniam Committee suggested that there should be a new policy. A new policy should come because the previous policy has become too old. In the meantime, we have brought out many transformation in particularly many change has taken place in technology. So Kasturi Rangan Committee was constituted. Kasturi Rangan is a space scientist under the chairmanship, that is in 2019, and it drafted the policy. So let us see what are the contents of the policy. The policy, this policy document, which is a very important document, that only it is of 68 pages, I think, 65 to 68 pages. It has two parts. Let us say four parts or four chapters. Chapter 1, school education. Chapter 2, higher education. And chapter 3 or part 3, other key areas of focus like adult education, language education, teacher education, engineering education. And fourth part, it talks about how to implement the policy. In other previous policy document, if you have gone, many of you have gone through 86 policy, that doesn't give a very clear picture of how to implement the policy. So, but there is a chapter which talks about how to make this policy happen. Then let us see, because we are concerned with the school education, let us see what are the contents of part 1, that is school education. So there are 8 sections. There are 8 sections. You can see ECC or early childhood care and education, then FLN or foundational literacy and numeracy, then dropout is an important concern, and curriculum and pedagogy, that is also important concern, teachers, role of teachers, and equitable and inclusive education, efficient resourcing and effective governance, and standard setting and accreditation. So these are the 8 sections of part 1, that is school education. So will be before we discuss about all these 8 sections one by one, let me tell you about the vision of NEP 2020. What is the vision of NEP 2020? Because all the suggestions in all the 8 chapters, or for that matter, for higher education, or for teacher education, or language education, or adult education, these 4 broad visions that guides the policy, that reflects in every suggestion. Number one vision is an India-centered education, or an education system rooted in Indian philosophy, culture, tradition. So, if we want to transform India, it is possible only through an education system that is rooted in Indian philosophy or Indian ethos or Indian culture and tradition. That is number one. So that reflects in all the different sections, like whether it's curriculum and pedagogy or role of teachers or whatever. Then second vision, broad vision is to make India a knowledge society or learning society. A learning, equitable and vibrant learning society. It means that it considers knowledge as a capital. Knowledge as a capital. And a knowledge society is one, or learning society is one, in which all the persons or all the members of the society that have the opportunity for education, whether it is in rural area or urban area, whether belongs to SC category, ST category, or transgender, or female, or urban poor, or whatever. So, if everybody, that is what is called equitable knowledge society. Equitable means that is based on social justice. The social justice is that everybody should have the opportunity. And number three, that respect towards fundamental rights, duties, and constitutional values. Indian Constitution, our every aspects of development is guided by the Constitution of India. And the preamble of the Constitution envisages a set of values like socialism, secularism, cooperation, democracy, and all that. So they must be respected, and these values must be integrated in our school curriculum. Number four is that then again there are some skills and values that talks about human rights and sustainable development and global citizenship. So global citizenship is our philosophy, our tradition. When we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is a village. All that is a family. The entire world is a family. We are not only we do not only respect our national character, national values. Also, we should be a member of the world. So we should take the citizenship of the world. Like Aristotle said, that I am not a citizen of Greece, I am a citizen of the world. I am a world citizen. So these are the four guiding visions or broad visions that guides the recommendations of or suggestions of National Education Policy 2020. Then coming to some of the key principles that of course we will be discussing in different subsections. One is recognizing, identifying, and fostering the unique capabilities of each student. Each student is unique. You must remember the version of our National Curriculum Framework 2005 that says that if in a class there are 40 students, in fact there are 40 classes. All you know about the individual difference. So all we have to recognize what are the capacity, what are the ability, or what are the creativity of every child. And second one is achieving foundational literacy and numeracy by all students by grade 3. By the time the students reach grade 3, that means the first 5 years of school education should focus on improving foundational literacy and numeracy. Foundational literacy and numeracy means it is the ability to have linguistic skills like writing, speaking, reading, and all, and the numeracy, simple mathematical abilities like our addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication, etc. Then flexibility in allowing learners to choose their learning path and programs according to their talents and interests. Freedom to the learners, and mostly at the secondary stage, and it talks about no hard separation between arts and science, curricular and extracurricular activities or co-curricular activities, and the vocational and academic streams. So you see, when would be you know that the secondary education. Previously, currently in higher secondary stage, we have arts stream, science stream, and a commerce stream. But that will not be there. That dichotomy or that barrier should not be there. A student of arts can take a vocational subject, and a vocational one can take one vocational subject, one art subject, and so history, mathematics, and then music one can take. So this barrier will not be there. Then multidisciplinary and holistic education. This talks about the multidisciplinary. Our education will be multidisciplinary. This is particularly refers to higher education institutions and also teacher education institutions. Our teacher education institution will operate in multidisciplinary higher education institutions. So there will not be science college, arts college, commerce college like that. Then from content mastery to competency mastery. So what is content mastery? Now currently we are focusing more on contents, subjects, subject contents of history, contents of science, which mostly talks about definitions of different places and all that. And but from our shift is from content to competence. So here I can say that like one proverb is there, you don't give me fish, you teach me how to fish or how to catch fish. If you give me fish, then I will eat for a day. If you will tell me how to catch fish, then I will eat for the entire life. Similarly, this content, overloading of content, that promotes coaching culture, that promotes memorization. But when you learn the competency, when you master the competency, learning competency, then that is the key. That's the key to learning. So you learn, that is called learning skills. And then coming to emphasis on conceptual understanding. Basically, learning is a cognitive activity. But they say these are the stages through which our curriculum should proceed. Move from perceptual to conceptual to prescriptive to abstract. Perceptual, at the initial stage, the learning will be mostly perceptual in character. It must through senses. Let us suppose at preschool stage, mostly sensory motor training. Like your 5 sense organs are there, and when different they learn through different senses, then it becomes conceptual. Then we prescribe something. Then ultimately, when the child reaches at the secondary stage, then it becomes abstract. Then emphasis on creativity and critical thinking to encourage innovation. You see, innovation is very important. Now, in fourth industrial revolution, when you say fourth industrial revolution, the salient feature of fourth industrial revolution is innovation. So similarly, in education also, we want to bring some innovation, not rote kind of things. Every teacher whether in pedagogy, pedagogical innovations, or in curriculum, or in any even organization of co-curricular activities or curricular activities, we have to bring some innovations, something that will be better than the previous. So it is creativity, critical thinking, innovations, these are all 21st century skills. If we want to sustain in 21st century successfully, whether teachers and students, they have to develop these skills, creativity, critical thinking, and innovation. Then respect for human and constitutional values, as we discussed earlier, and the promoting multilingualism in teaching and learning. You see, India has a mosaic of language. We have a mosaic of culture, diversity. Diversity is the strength of Indian society. Diversity is not our weakness. You see, there are countries having only one language. I'm talking of South Korea. They have only Korean language. But in our country, there are a number of 700, more than 700 languages. So that multilingualism should happen in teaching and learning. We'll be discussing later. And promoting life skills. Life skills are there. Working in team. Nowadays, we cannot develop individual communication, cooperation. Then focus on formative assessment to discourage coaching culture. You see, summative assessment, that is the annual examination or annual assessment or half-yearly assessment, that promotes coaching culture. When after 1 year we conduct examination, and on the basis of that, the future of the student is decided, then that promotes coaching culture, memorization, then ultimately examination and suicide and so on. So from summative to formative, assessment is a continuous process. Extensive use of technology in teaching and learning. COVID situation has taught us. Now, without technology, our students cannot be fit for our industry, whether it's the agriculture industry or any other industry. Then respect for diversity and local context. So we can say that there is another term that's called local. Local means we have to become just, we cannot be purely global or purely local. In 21st century, then local. So that is what is called also contextualization of curriculum. We cannot leave our local context, local resources, local knowledge. And equity and inclusion are the cornerstone of all educational decisions. When we are taking any decision, whether curriculum, whether pedagogy, or whether FLN or whatever, equity is very important. Equity and inclusion, almost they have the same principle. But equity, social justice, equity is not equal distribution, it is equitable distribution. Equitable means everybody according to their need. We have urban areas, rural areas. We have people from different religions. We don't have a single religion. We have urban poor, rural poor. Then another gender also has come, our male, female, and transgender. So when we are taking any decision, policy, curriculum framework, or focus group, this is position paper, we have to think of this equity, principle of equity and inclusion, education for all. Then lifelong learning opportunity for all by 2030. That is Sustainable Development Goal 4. That everybody should have the opportunity to learn throughout the life. Education is never ends at the end of schooling or at the end of master degree or PhD. So everybody, anytime, anywhere, they should have the opportunity to learn. And that is the Sustainable Development Goal. There are 17 goals, as you know, of UN, United Nations, and we are signatory to that. Goal 4 talks about quality education for all in our set. Teacher is at the heart of learning process. Technology is there, everything is there, but teacher is it gives highest focus to the teacher. Then another is a light but tight regulatory framework. So we cannot deny about the information. So we must be open to the public. All the information, how what is our resources and results of students, then sources of our finance, every should come to the public domain, and continuous review of progress based on research and regular assessment. There is another thing that teaching and research, there should be our teaching, everything must be evidence based or research based. So when we make a review, that should be on the basis of research, because many times we bring some change just in an impressionistic manner, out of impression that it will be good. No, everything should be research based and through assessment, and synergy in curriculum across all levels of education. Synergy. Everybody must, all the stakeholders must be associated in this preparation of position papers. This is a kind of synergy, because there is instruction that from different stakeholders, civil society organization and teachers, parents, all must take part. That is energy. Synergy is more powerful than energy. India-centered education, we have told that we have reached legacy in education, and India was considered as Vishwaguru long back, 1,000 years back. We have reputed universities like Taxila, Vikramshila, Nalanda, and all, and people from different parts of the country are coming. So now we have to revive that legacy. Then revamp education aligned to 21st century education. I was telling that 21st century expects a set of skills and competencies not only from students but also from teachers. So like creativity, innovations, critical thinking, and that we were telling in the previous slides. Then education as a public service must be considered as a basic right of every child. Now education is a basic right. So school education. Now Right to Education Act, 2009, it talks about education from 6 to 14 years of age. But education as such should be a fundamental right of every child. And substantial investment in public education system. So since Kothari Education Commission and reiterated by different policies, different frameworks, they have talked about 6% of GDP, and the 2000 policy also repeats the same thing, that in order to make this policy happen, to implement this policy, 6% of GDP should be devoted to education. So it is not only the responsibility of state government, but also the responsibility of the government of India, central government, because education is now in a concurrent list. Then to address the unfinished agenda of NP 1986 as modified in 1990. Many agenda of National Policy on Education 1986 has not still happened. So this policy also should take into account what has not happened, what was there in the policy 86, 34 years back, what has still not happened. For example, school complex, that was the idea of Kothari Education Commission. Some states try to adopt it, but failed. Many of, and that is one of the examples of unfinished agenda of NP 1986. Let us come to one by one briefly about 8 sections of school education. It says that universal quality early childhood development, care and education by 2030. That is the goal. Every child by the reach grade 3 must have every child should have the quality early childhood education. 3 years of early childhood education. This is important. Why it gives much importance on this 3 years of ECC? Because psychology says, researchers have proven that 85% of the brain development happens at the early years, prior to the age of 6. But so far we have neglected these early years. That is the idea. And these are some of the aims of ECC: physical development, cognitive development, holistic development of the child, socio-emotional development, cultural development, development of communication. These are some of the aims of early childhood education. 3 years of early childhood education. And that will be universal. All should get. Then it says ensure universal access to high quality ECC in a phased manner. Because it is not possible, it requires a huge financial investment. So it is not possible all on a sudden. So in our position paper, we have to also mention that this should be done, how it should be, it should happen in a phased manner. All on a sudden, we cannot provide 3 years of ECC because it requires teachers, appointment of teachers, it requires also infrastructure, teaching learning materials, and so on and so forth. Then, so this is, they say this preschool education should be flexible, multifaceted, multi-level, play-based, activity-based, and inquiry-based learning. This is very important. Inquiry-based learning, discovery learning. What is inquiry-based or discovery learning? The child should not be taught like formally lecture and all that. They should discover what is around them. And these are the 4 models that are suggested for ECC. That focus group that deals with early childhood care and education. Because we have standalone Anganwadi. Anganwadis are very popular now. In government setup, Anganwadis provide ECC. And that is only, ECC is one of the components of this Anganwadi. That is one. Out of 6 components, ECC is one of the components. Then Anganwadi is co-located with the primary schools. In some schools, these Anganwadis will be attached. In some villages, there will be standalone Anganwadi, and the second model is the Anganwadis will be attached to primary school. Then another, third model, there will be a pre-primary school or pre-primary section in primary schools already. We have many primary schools. And there can be also standalone preschool, like standalone Anganwadi. There will be also in some villages, somewhere, there can be standalone preschool. But the duration of preschool will be 3 years. So these are the various models we have to examine. And how to, it says to implement it in a phased manner. That is important. And this said that National Curricular and Pedagogical Framework of ECC will be developed by NCERT, and NCERT has already developed in 2 parts. That is ECC framework, curricular. Just like you are talking of framework, pedagogy, NCF or SCF. Similarly, there will be National Curriculum Framework for preschool or ECC. नहीं अभी थोड़ा मेरा सेशन चल रहा है. So, so this is regarding early childhood care and education. And another is FLN, that is second section, foundational literacy and numeracy. You see, it is an urgent national mission. When you say it should be implemented in a mission mode. Why? Because it says that currently more than 5 crore elementary school children have not attained foundational literacy and numeracy. This is a learning crisis. This is the term I have derived it from the policy. Learning crisis. 5 crore children. Even there are many countries in the world are not having 5 crore population. So the target is given, that is 2025. By 2025, all children will have foundational literacy and numeracy, particularly at the elementary stage of education. So a national mission on foundational literacy and numeracy will be set up. When the term mission is used, it means that there is some urgency. It receives focus, more focus. So this NMFLN that will be created or set up to see that by 2025 they will prepare their plan so that all the children, particularly at the elementary stage, will have foundational literacy and numeracy. When I say foundational literacy and numeracy, it is like speaking, reading, writing, small mathematical calculations, etc. So by grade 3, everybody should have foundational literacy and numeracy. Grade 3 means first 3 years of preschool education and classes 1 and 2. That is called foundational stage. By the foundational stage, till when they reach grade 3 or preparatory stage, they will have all these basic numeracy skills and literacy skills. And local teachers having knowledge or familiarity with local language will be employed in schools. Teacher vacancy will be filled up, particularly in disadvantaged areas. Now you see there is a change in PTR, pupil-teacher ratio. It was 40:1 previously, but now for primary 40:1, for upper primary it was 35:1, but now it says PTR of 30:1, 30 students per teacher ratio. And in disadvantaged areas, socioeconomically disadvantaged, where there is more concentration of socially disadvantaged people, they are 25:1. That is it. Then there's a strong investment in ECC because it's a new, we are going to add something new. Previously we had 12 years of school education, 10 plus 2, but now we have 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, 15 years, 12 plus 3 years of ECC. So there must be strong investment in ECC. It is a new structure. And they say, presently we have Diksha, all different resources are available in Diksha. Even now, training programs at the national level are provided through Diksha. And this is another, this is just like in previously it was said, each one teach one. That is, every literate member will take the responsibility to teach at least one person. When we are talking a learning society or knowledge society, equitable knowledge society, then every, whether it is a housewife or you are an employer, somewhere in the bank or a retired person, everybody has to take that responsibility. Enjoyable and inspirational books to attract the students will be prepared, and community library or village library must be there in every villages so that students will learn during non-school hours. Beyond school hours, the students they don't find that opportunity. Then also digital library, talks of digital library. Then this is another important recommendation, that in addition to midday meal, there will be breakfast. There will be breakfast to the students. And all children shall undergo health checkup, 100% immunization and 100% health checkup, which is not happening currently, very in a ad hoc manner. Sometimes some schools do, many schools they don't. Then third area is curtailing dropout rates. Again, dropout like foundational literacy and numeracy, dropout is also a serious problem in our country. The number is 3.22 crores. 322 lakh children in the age group of 6 to 17 are out of school. Either they have not been enrolled in the school or they have left the school before completion. These two categories are there in the age group of 6 to 17. So the mission is to bring them back to school. Otherwise, we cannot achieve the target of 100% gross enrollment ratio. So, to achieve 100% GER from preschool to secondary level, which is the target set by National Education Policy by 2030, then you have to bring these 3.22 crore children, out of school children, back to school. And this is the current rate of GER. Gross enrollment is 6 to 8, that means upper primary stage with 91%. Then as we proceed, then dropout rate is higher. Currently at the secondary stage, class 9 and 10, it is 80%. And higher secondary stage, it is 56%. So we want that all these should be 100%. So, and universal access to education. You cannot make GER 100% from preschool to secondary level unless and until you have access to education. If you don't provide educational facilities, schooling facilities to children, then how can we expect 100% GER? And now it says that also vocational education 100%. All should have the opportunity of vocational education. And this one is we have to bring back the credibility of government schools. So far, people have lost their faith on government schools. So it has to be re-established. Previously, government schools were playing important role, but day by day, people are just not looking at the government schools, and because they think that quality education only provided in private schools. So we have to re-establish that. And in some areas, that has happened. I just here give the example of Delhi government. In Delhi government, there is a reverse flow from private to government schools. Students move from private school to government schools because of beautiful infrastructure provided, 100% teachers, and for midday meal and other things, one state officer is there. All the teachers are provided with laptop, of course, with perhaps some 25,000 or 15,000 that government has given, so that all the activities like application, everything will be done through online. So due to these things, we have to re-establish, we have to invest more in education. That is there. Then set up alternative and innovative education center. There are, when you say 100% GR, there are some children of migrant laborers, those who move from one place to another. 3 months they go for some place and then again they come back. So that seriously affects the education of those children. So for them, then we have to think of alternative schooling, alternative and innovative schooling. Like one idea in Andhra Pradesh, that is a Naxal affected state. My state, Odisha also. That is left front activism in many areas, border areas particularly. So they have a type of school like Pedagogy school, portable schools. Schools operate for some months, and schools move from one place to another. So this is called alternative and innovative education centers have to be established to serve the need of the children of migrant laborers who move from one place to another. When children move from one place to another, school also should move from one place to another. So the school will run after the such kind of children. Otherwise, 100% GR is not possible. Then trained and qualified social workers to be connected to schools. Like we have in states have connected in formulation of position papers. Similarly, they should have the responsibility of also further. And deploying teachers with knowledge of local language. Language is a major thing here. So the teachers having local language will be only appointed. Then it talks about open and distance learning. It is not possible unless and until you, if you say 100% face-to-face education, then you cannot reach 100% GI. So National Institute of Open Schooling, as you know, those who have no opportunity or due to some reason or other, they fail to attend regular schools, they will be doing these are the different modes of A, B, C level of this NIS. Then efforts to involve community and alumni to enhance learning. So it is everybody's responsibility. Now not responsibility of even Department of Education. Now many departments will have been, there is a convergence of a WCD department, Women and Child Development Department, Drinking Water, then Health Department. So we have, we talk about drinking water facilities, we talk about midday meal, we talk about immunization. The Education Department cannot do all these things. So even social workers, they have to be also associated or connected to implement the policy. Then fourth is curriculum and pedagogy. This is very important, as you have already known. So you see, it talks about a transformation of curricular and pedagogical structure. Transformation. Simply even reform, I don't agree with reform. It is a transformation. Like you must have heard about the caterpillar and butterfly. Caterpillar, when it becomes a butterfly, it becomes very beautiful. This is a kind of transformation. Or we have also examples like some Dasuratnagar, he became a rishi. So similarly, this structure 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 foundational stage 5 years. Foundation of a building is very important, must be strong. And its pedagogy, you see, flexible, multi-level, play and activity based, and pedagogy of ECC. So curriculum and pedagogy together they have the structure. So therefore we not only say that curricular structure, it is also curricular and pedagogical structure together. So these you can just ask a question that there are the 10 plus 2 plus 3 like primary, upper primary, secondary and higher secondary. So what was the problem? So actually these stages have been created on the basis of the developmental stages of the child or developmental stages of the individual. So, foundational stage 5 years, that is 3 years of preschool education and classes on 1 and 2. That is called foundational stage of 5 years. Then preparatory stage, that is 3 years. That is 3, 4, 5. Classes 3, 4 and 5. You see, what is the pedagogy of this stage? It says the pedagogy is a continuum. There is no watertight compartment between pedagogy of stage 1 and 2, 2 and 3, 3 and 4. So there is a continuum in pedagogy. But importantly, pedagogy will be more formal at this stage. Previous stage it was informal, but at this stage it will be more formal. Interactive, you see, focus on reading, writing, speaking, physical education, art, languages, science, mathematics. Then you see middle stage, which is equivalent to upper primary stage now, class 6, 7 and 8. Then this pedagogical style of preparatory stage will continue, but additionally, it will be subject-oriented pedagogy. What is subject-oriented pedagogy? Previously, there was no difference. Not pedagogy of mathematics, pedagogy of science, pedagogy of language. But at the middle stage, there should be subject teachers. So, discussion of abstract concept and experiential learning in each subject. So, at the middle stage, there will be subject-oriented pedagogy. Then coming to secondary, 4 years, class 9, 10, 11 and 12. So, the subject-oriented pedagogy also will continue. But at this stage, there will be flexibility and the choice of the student subjects. There is no arts, science stream or a commerce stream. But this is called the modular curriculum, or the basket of subjects are there. There will be some subjects which are to be learned by all students, and there will be some subjects which will be chosen according to their choice. So, choice of students, flexibility in choice is there, but there is no compartmentalization like arts, science or commerce. Class 9, 10, 11 and 12. Then experiential learning will be discussing later in greater detail. Then we'll be discussing later sections. When it talks about the holistic development of learners, I was telling about from subject to or content mastery to competency mastery. That is what is learning how to learn. You teach me how to catch fish. You don't give me fish. That is what is called the skill of learning, so that I can learn anything, anytime, in future also. Then character building is another important and 21st century skills. As I said you that for successful citizen of the 21st century, or for 21st century teachers and 21st century students, a set of skills and competencies are required. That they should be integrated in the curriculum. Integration of skills and values across domains. So curriculum content will be reduced to its core essential. This is a very important recommendation of the content of curriculum will be reduced. You must have heard about Yaspal committee report. Education without burden. More content. There is no point of this more content, heavy content that leads to coaching culture or tuition culture, that leads to memorization, that leads to ultimately suicide. Comparison. So they say this content, heavy content, remembering definitions, remembering different dates, remembering name of many persons, Akbar, Babar, his son, and all. So that should be only core essential content would be learned by the students, and more important focus on learning how to learn, competence. So NCERT has the responsibility to identify which skills and competency are to be integrated in school curriculum. So this is, you see, another important recommendation, 10 backlist things. Curriculum content will be reduced. Out of 30 days, there will be 10 backlist days. Students will not go with bags. School will go without bags. So what they will do? They will learn the skills, competencies from carpenters, gardeners, porters, artists, local. They will go to them. Either they may come, but the students are expected to go. Internship. This is called internship, and this is from grade 6 to 8. You see, grade 6 to 8, actually vocational education will start from class 6 to 12 at school level. 6 to 8 is a pre-vocational education. It's called pre-vocational education. In RI Bhopal, that is DM School Bhopal, we have introduced on an experimental basis, on pilot basis, we have prepared pre-vocational curriculum in collaboration with South Korean Research Center for Vocational Education, and we have introduced there. On the basis of that, that will be scaled across student. Emphasis on critical thinking. As I have already told, holistic, inquiry-based, discovery-based, discussion-based, and analysis-based. That will promote self-learning. The onus of learning will not be on the teacher, it will be on the student. When we will inquire, we will try to discover something. Instead of remembering, instead of memorizing what teacher says, we will inquire, we will discover, we will analyze critically the pros and cons. So, they say classroom session, this is about some pedagogical approaches, fun, creative, collaborative, exploratory activity, and experiential learning. We'll be discussing experiential learning later also. So this is about focus on key concepts, ideas, application, and problem solving. more focus on application. Rather than remembering content, the learners will be encouraged to learn how to apply, how to solve problems. So hands-on practices. So this is called experiential. What is experiential? Many people have some confusion about the concept of experiential. I just make a difference between experiential learning and learning from experience. Learning from experience is different from experiential. So, let me say what is learning from experience. When we will take the students to a particular historical place and you do some kind of picnic or whatever, they go here and there, they enjoy, they take photographs, selfie. That is the learning from experience. But experiential learning, the fundamental to experiential learning is critical reflection. So the role of the teacher is important. They should reflect on why this is, what happened here. The painting, they will see the painting, they will examine the painting, the beauty, the history. They will try to analyze the history of these paintings or sculptures. And the reason behind that, that is what is called reflection. So that is called experiential. And assessment as of and for learning. Assessment will be an integral to teaching learning process. And when we say for learning, as learning means it is integral. Teaching, learning and assessment, they go together. For learning also, as and of, as and for, you see the difference. As and for, I'll tell you about of later. For learning, also it talks about the formative assessment. But the difference between as and for is, in case of the as learning, the onus of learning is on the student mostly, self-learning. But in case of the assessment for learning, the onus of learning is mostly on the teacher. It is a teacher-centric. But assessment as learning is a learner-centric. But the assessment of learning is your summative assessment. That is annual assessment, examination. Thus, all are important. But assessment as learning is more important than it. Then, when you say experiential learning is not a one type of pedagogy. Or it is not only applicable to science or mathematics or language. Let's say cross-curricular pedagogical approaches. Cross-curricular means art-integrated pedagogy is a cross-curricular pedagogical approach. Art-integrated approach is not only applicable for science, applicable for mathematics, and applicable for social science or environmental studies. Sport-integrated pedagogy. Previously, we have taken sports as a physical, for the physical development, but now sports is a teaching learning approach, teaching learning strategy. Similarly, storytelling. That is our traditional pedagogy. Students, they are fond of listening to stories. So we have to, instead of following didactic approach, we have to make our presentation like a story so that they will be interested. Similarly, ICT pedagogy is a newer pedagogy. And in COVID period, we have all experienced that it's important and it will continue. So these are called cross-curricular pedagogical approaches. We have a very, in Regional Institute of Education, Bhopal, perhaps it is the first RI to implement art-integrated pedagogy in a very large scale. We have oriented 633 or 1 essay teachers on all the teachers of a particular block. how to teach mathematics through art, how to teach science through art, how to teach geography or language through art. And not only art means they call so many costly items, no. By using local available resources. So these are cross-curricular pedagogical approaches. And when you say experiential learning, which is the buzzword of our national education policy, like constructivist pedagogy was the buzzword of National Curriculum Framework 2005. Similarly, now experiential learning is the buzzword. Those who are working position paper on pedagogy, curriculum and pedagogy, this is very important information for them. Then flexibility in course choices, we have said at secondary school level, there is no arts, humanities, science, no curricular, extracurricular, no vocational and academic stream. There is no difference. You cannot say that you cannot take a vocational subject. I can take pisciculture as a subject like other subjects. So then moving to a semester system. Semester system. Now in school we have annual system, but in higher education we have semester system. The basic advantage of semester system is more flexibility and diversity. It will the pressure will be distributed throughout the year. Student will not just before examination they will read throughout 24 hours and at the initial months they will be moving here and there and they will not look at it. So semester system also it talks about trimester system. Assessment after 3 years that will contribute to your overall performance. Then these are the things that physical education, art, craft, vocational skills across the curriculum, throughout the curriculum, at all levels, all stages. Multilingualism, you said, this is very first statement is there. The medium of instruction, this is the exact statement. The medium of instruction will be home language or mother tongue or local language or regional language, same thing, until at least grade 5, but preferably till grade 8 and beyond, means at the higher education level, but compulsory till grade 5, class 5. You can call it mother tongue, you can call it local language or regional language. Sometimes mother tongue is the same as regional language, like that. So that is, and this will be followed by both in public school or government school and private school. So accordingly, textbooks will be available in mother tongue. So they say teachers use a bilingual teaching learning approach. So bilingual textbooks. Bilingual textbooks. One is English language, very popular, but there should be particularly in teaching of science and mathematics. They say bilingual textbooks in teaching science and mathematics at the secondary school. So why? Because when the student will become doctor or engineer or go to work, so he must learn science and mathematics, particularly in both the languages. And the 3-language formula, which was the recommendation of Kothari Education Commission, and many states didn't implement it, but now it says that the child must learn 3 languages at the school stage. But there is enough flexibility to states, because on the language front there are difference of opinion. When this policy came, some states also starts revolting against this three language formula. But you see the three language formula, out of three language formula, the two languages will be native Indian languages, and that is the choice of the state. One may be foreign language, English or whatever you say. You see, at least two out of three languages to be learned at the school stage, two will be Indian languages, and that will be chosen by the respective states. So they have given freedom to the states. So investment in language teachers, as you know, there are a list of perhaps 23 languages in the 8th schedule of Constitution of India. That is called our official language. In India, there is no national language. There is no national language. We have official languages, and because of language diversity, no language has been given the status of national language. So they say students can also change. Suppose you have taken three languages, students in grade 6 or 7, they can also change to another language. Then technology would be used in teaching out different languages and textbooks like that. So they say the classical languages would be also given, and there must be a position paper on language education. So classical language will be promoted. Sanskrit is the most popular classical language, and Pali, Persian, Prakriti should be given. Students can opt for Sanskrit language. So then what are the essential subjects that our curriculum should be there? That is because when we are saying India-centric education or India-centered education, so some essential subjects be there, like these are the subjects which should be learned by all students. It is flexibility doesn't mean whatever you will learn. So these are some essential things that will be integrated in the school curriculum. Scientific temper, evidence-based thinking, creativity, innovation, 21st century skills, sense of aesthetic and art, oral and written communication, physical education, fitness, wellness, sports, collaboration and teamwork, problem solving and logical reasoning, vocational exposure, digital literacy, coding, computational thinking, ethical and moral reasoning, so constitutional values, gender sensitivity, fundamental duties of citizens, knowledge of India, environmental awareness, health and nutrition. These are the essential subjects that must be learned by all students. And in addition, they say there are some contemporary subjects. These subjects were not there earlier. They have current relevance. Subjects like artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence is very popular, and students will track their progress through AI-based software. Design thinking, holistic health, organic living, environmental education, global citizenship education is a new terminology. So these subjects are contemporary subjects. They must also find a place in the school curriculum. They say vocational education from class 6 to 12. 6, 7, 8 pre-vocational, 9, 10, 11, 12 vocational. Then Indian knowledge system. There will be a subject like Indian knowledge system that will be elective, not compulsory. It will talk about India's traditional culture, language, religion, and all that. Then you see Indian knowledge system. When you say Indian knowledge system, actually tribal knowledge is the Indian knowledge system. Broadly speaking, we all Indians are tribals. If we see the definition of tribe, we all Indians are tribals. So, in our knowledge system, we have very rich knowledge system in mathematics, astronomy. We have contributed to zero, concept of zero, astronomy, philosophy, yoga. Now International Yoga Day. This is our India's contribution. Architecture, medicine, Ayurveda, agriculture. And in agriculture, tribal knowledge is very important. There are different agricultural practices, engineering, literature, sports, games, ethno-medicinal practices in tribal areas, forest management, traditional crop cultivation, natural farming. So these are comes under Indian knowledge system. Then this is said national curriculum framework, which you are preparing now. The target was 2021, but now 2022. So this is to be revised every 5 to 10 years, NCERT. Then textbook of local content and flavor in local language. I'm not going in detail. So states will have to prepare their own curriculum, textbook based on NCERT and the curriculum and text. You see, only core subjects will be there in curriculum. We have already discussed that. Reduce the weightage of school bag and textbooks contents that we have already discussed. So, emphasis on constructivist rather than rote learning. When you overload the content, then it promotes rote learning or tuition culture or coaching culture. So, core essential content should be there only in the curriculum. Then learner assessment. There is a very important, strong change, a very vibrant change in this assessment, learner assessment. Summative to formative assessment that we are discussing. Assessment summative means assessment of learning. That promotes examination, grading, or division. But a formative assessment, that is integral to teaching learning process. Then we have already also discussed competency-based assessment. We will not assess content knowledge, more focus on assessment of competency. Instead of assessing content, whose father is he, which year that particular war occurred, or tell the name of the place where war occurred. So this overburdens the mind. So competency-based assessment. So because the purpose of assessment is for learning, is to improve learning, and it talks about the holistic progress card for school-based assessment. So external assessment and school-based assessment. More focus on school-based assessment. And it is now the states have been told to prepare to develop a holistic progress card. That is called a 360-degree progress card. What is 360-degree progress card? Like you say, 24/7, shop open 24/7, medicine shops, petrol pumps. So 360 degree assessment every time. And what are those assessment? Self-assessment, peer assessment, and teacher assessment. So far, in progress card, we have included only teacher assessment. But it talks about to make it 360 degree, the child's own assessment will be there. He will be assessed by peers, his classmates. That will be also there in holistic progress card. and assessment by the teacher. You see the three assessments: self-assessment, peer assessment, and teacher assessment. So that progress card will be holistic and 300 sheets. So this is the transformation in learner assessment. Coming to Parak, you know, Parak is a new structure that has been suggested, and it's a long title like Performance Assessment, Review, and Analysis of Knowledge for Holistic Development. Like National Achievement Survey we conduct in NCERT, similarly states will conduct State Achievement Survey. And these surveys will be guided by the framework of Parak. Is a new structure will be created that will guide NCERT for National Achievement Survey and states for State Achievement Survey. So this is about Parak, a new structure, mostly that will be creating guideline for assessment at different levels, at state level and national level. Then more emphasis on higher order thinking skills. These are called higher order thinking skills like analysis, critical thinking, conceptual clarity. Then you see artificial intelligence based software. We have discussed that the child wants to track his progress, whether he is progressing in a positive direction or negative direction or flat. They can check it through a software that is called based on artificial intelligence. Board examination in both class 10 and 12. That is happening now. So students will choose. This is a very important change, transformation. Students will choose in which subject they will take board examination. There will be two examinations in 1 year. One will be main examination and another examination will be improvement. Suppose I, due to some reason or other, I fail in one paper or I scored very low mark, I will take the second chance. Another thing, board examination will be at two levels. One is at the easier level and another is the higher level. Perhaps that is there in the next page. Okay. Like standard level and higher level. I am a very bright student academically. I want to appear higher level examination. The students, those who are afraid, they can appear standard level examination. This is a new thing. And again, board examination in some subjects will be having two parts: objective type and descriptive type items. So these are some of the changes. Then another is your annual system, semester system, and modular board examination. Board examination modules, you know, textbook, difference between textbook and modules. Then gifted students will not be neglected. So they say topic centered and project based clubs. We can say mathematics club or mathematics circle. So that the students, those who are interested in mathematics, they will be learning together. Those who are interested in music, there will be a music club. There will be a literary club. Then like science Olympiad, there will be Olympiads also. These are Olympiads are for talented students. So these are some of the provisions for gifted students. So they should not be neglected because they have special talents. They must be nurtured through these project-based clubs, through Olympiads and summer camps also. Nowadays also so there are some summer programs to give them enriched level of education. Then the fifth aspect is the teachers. You know, there are 3 types of teacher education programs. 4-year integrated B.Ed program, which is mostly run in our other 4 regional institutes of education, Bhopal, Mysore, Ajmer and Bhubaneswar. And this will be the minimum qualification for teaching by 2030. So whether at the preschool level, secondary level or any level, 4-year integrated B.Ed will be the minimum qualification for teaching by 2030. And currently, there will be 3 teacher education programs, 2-year B.Ed and also 1-year B.Ed. Already your curriculum has been prepared. Courses have been prepared by NCT. 2-year B.Ed for whom? Those who have the 3-year bachelor degree. Currently, bachelor degree is for 3 years. So they will pursue after graduation B.Ed, 2-year B.Ed, like Neri we have. And minimum qualification is graduation. But for 4-year integrated, the minimum qualification will be secondary education. Currently, this is a higher secondary. And there will be also students who will be doing 1-year B.Ed. And because now, presently, this policy says 4-year bachelor degree. Currently, it is 3 years, but in future, it will be 4-year bachelor degree. So they will be taking admission in for 1-year B.Ed program. So 3-year B.Ed programs will be there, but after 2030, this 4-year integrated B.Ed program will continue, and these programs will be withdrawn or phased out. So continuous professional development of teachers, 50 hours of in-service training per teacher per year. This is also applicable to school principal and the school complex leaders. Then merit-based promotion, not according to the age or experience. Similarly, salary also according to the merit, performance. Then vertical mobility of teachers means a teacher can be promoted to CRC, then BRC for diet according to his performance. Recruitment, then again incentive will be given to teachers for doing work in rural areas. Currently, there is no difference in salary of urban and rural teachers. Then teacher eligibility test is the minimum criteria, and for to become a teacher, and that will be again more vibrant, strengthened. For selection of teachers, demonstration or interview will be integral, not on the basis of marks, recruitment of teachers. So a teacher can be recruited to a school complex or to a school. Means maybe for a school or for a group of schools. For example, art teacher, music teacher, agriculture teacher. Every school cannot have all these type of teachers. So they will be moving from one school to another in a cluster to teach. Then professional standards for teachers. Already NCT has prepared national professional standards for teachers. What the characters a teacher should have? What is the standard of a teacher? There he talks about 4 different levels of teachers. You can Google search. There is a blue book. There is a blue book, namely Blue Book, developed by NCT, which talks about different levels of teachers. How come a teacher can be promoted from one level to another on the basis of assessment. So at each stage there will be assessment of performance. So Then special educators will be appointed at middle and secondary school level for teaching to the children with some kind of disability. Then, so this is another important thing for teacher education institution, that a teacher education program will be conducted within composite multidisciplinary institution. There is a committee, and I am also a member of that committee of NCT. Transformation of standalone teacher education institution to multidisciplinary institutions. There will not be only B.Ed colleges having only B.Ed, because 4-year integrated BA B.Ed or BSc B.Ed, you will be giving dual degree integrated teacher education program. One is BA and degree and B.Ed, or BSc degree and B.Ed degree. So that will not happen in a standalone teacher education institution. So all the teacher education institution will be switched down. So this decision now is with the government, how to transform these institutions to multidisciplinary institutions, so that they can give two dual degree, graduation as well as B.Ed degree. So there will be vertical mobility. A student of B.Ed with B.Ed, he can do master degree, or a BSc B.Ed student can do master degree in science. So that will not be possible in a standalone teacher education institution. And then sixth one is equitable and inclusive education. The policy talks about 7 categories of disadvantaged learners: SCDGs, socio-economically disadvantaged groups, female and transgender. This term has been entered. Scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, OBC minority. Students from villages, small towns, aspirational districts. Students with disability, migrant communities, low-income households, BPL category, and children in vulnerable situations like orphans or urban poor. So these are the 7 categories of disadvantaged learners, and special focus will be given on these 7 categories of learners. Then incentive will be given to parents to send their children to school, particularly these disadvantaged learners, and this is the facilities like peer tutoring, one-on-one teacher tutor, open schooling, appropriate infrastructure, suitable technological interventions. These will be also there for equitable, for education for all categories of these, particularly these 7 categories of learners. And in regions having these seven categories, when there is concentration of these categories of learners, this zone will be declared as a SEZ. That is called a special education zone. The area in which these 7 categories of learners are more, some areas will be declared and some special provision will be there. This is a new thing, that a gender inclusion fund will be there for promotion of education among girls and transgender. So Indian Sign Language will be also developed. Now most of the sign languages are brought from the outside. So 7th aspect, let us come to the governance of school. I was telling you about school clusters, which was suggested as a school complex. Kothari Education Commission suggested as far back as 1964. That is, the small schools, they are neglected. Only single teacher schools are there. Single teacher schools, you see, there are 85,743 single teacher schools are there according to BICE data. So they are neglected. So teacher schools within the radius of 10 kilometers headed by one secondary school will form a cluster so that they will share their resources. Counselors, teacher counselors will be there. They will also they will have the adequate resources at the model school, laboratory, computer labs, etc. And there will be very strong improved governance in these schools. The target date is 2025. Schools will be clustered. The nodal school will be one secondary school, and there will be all other schools, small schools around. So this is what is between 5 to 10 kilometers radius. So this is a semi-autonomous unit. They will have their own plan. You see, school development plan. Similarly, school complex development plans they will develop. Now, when they will be developing plans, that will be school complex development plans, taking into account all the small schools around the secondary school, that is nodal schools. So, and there will be also there is a new that concept Bal Bhavans. Bal Bhavans are there in big cities. In weekends, the children they go there, they do some kind of fun, they do some kind of activities. But that will be there also. That Bal Bhavans will be created. Students can visit on weekends. The last one is the standard setting and accreditation for school education. I'm going to end. So, like higher education institutions are accredited by NAC, National Assessment and Accreditation Council. Similarly, schools also will be assessed and graded. So there is a new structure that has been also state school standard authority. Maybe DERT has been might have been declared as state school standard authority. Mostly all the SCRTs have been declared as state school standard authority. They will be developing school quality assessment and accreditation framework. They will prepare the guideline how these schools should be assessed. So this will be prepared jointly by SCRT and NCERT. And currently, as I know, the SCRTs have been declared as school standard authority. So, they will be assessed. Both public and private schools will be assessed, except special schools like central schools or KVs. All the government and private schools, state government schools and private schools, they will be assessed. And states also will conduct, I have already said, state achievement survey. Presently, NCERT is conducting national achievement survey, but now states will be also conducting state achievement survey. So this is another, I was telling about, this is the last slide. I was telling about the public disclosure of school website. And these informations, you are bound to disclose this information. That comes under light but tight regulation. How many classrooms you have, how many students you have, how many teachers you have, what subjects you are teaching, what fees you are taking, different fees you are taking. Some schools are exploiting. And what is the outcomes of our students in NAS, National Achievement Survey and State Achievement Survey? That you have to show in your school website. This is one of the aspects of governance, effective governance. So these are the major reforms. Only I am telling, universalization of ECCE, then National Mission on Foundational FLN that will be created, 5 + 3 + 3 + 4 structure of curricular and pedagogical structure, integration of 21st century skills. There will be no rigid separation between art, science, curricular and extracurricular, vocational and academic streams. Education for gifted children, special focus will be there. There will be gender inclusion fund. Then KGBB will be extended up to class 12, grade 12. And reduction of curriculum content. Then vocational education from class 6 onwards, class 6 to 12. Then 4 national curriculum frameworks like ECC curriculum frameworks, school education, teacher education and adult education that you are now preparing for school, for state, and because we are following bottom-up approach, first state curriculum framework will be there, then national curriculum framework will come, then board examination will be of low stake and high stake also, according to the knowledge of and application of the students. Home language, mother tongue or regional language will be medium of instruction till at least grade 5, that is for both private and public schools, and preferably grade 8 and beyond onwards. 360-degree holistic progress card, this is summary I am telling. Then tracking students' progress for achievement of learning outcomes through artificial intelligence software, based software. Then National Assessment Center will be created, that is called PARAK, which will guide conduct of NAS and SAS. Then National Testing Agency to offer common entrance examination for admission to higher education institution, after that is related to higher education institution. National Professional Standards for Teachers, that has already been separated in, as I said, the name of the book is Blue Book, that is available in Google, you can Google search that. Then digital library, book promotion policy, that is there. So these are some important recommendations I discussed on all the 8 sections of school education. With this, I thank DURT authorities for giving me this opportunity to discuss with you. Now, we can invite some questions. Madam Della Sols, thank you very much, and to your team. So now we can go for discussion according to the time you have set. Over to you, Madam Della Sols, the coordinator of this program.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much for the guidance on 2020. So now we go to the next part of the session, that is the question and answer session. If anybody would like to ask us any questions. I once again invite participants to the question and answer session. So any questions that you would like to ask, please kindly do so.
Some participant has requested in the box for sharing the PPT. I will be sending the PPT to the classrooms. No issue. Because I wanted to cover the entire policy input and recommendations, there may be many doubts because I have lost to complete. So, okay, some Bethany Society, some participant has raised the hands. You can ask a question. Please ask. From Bethany Society, any question? Or you can also type in the chat box so that I can answer. Madam, perhaps he is not unmuted. From Bethany Society is not unmuted. So kindly unmute so that they can raise the questions. So those who are raising hands, please unmute them so that they can ask questions. That is the issue.
Yeah. Okay. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me. Yes. So thank you very, very much for really a very comprehensive, detailed presentation of the whole thing. This morning also it links very well with the focus of this morning. But I think for us in Meghalaya, the biggest challenge is how do we, make the focus groups or the position papers something that is realistic. The national education policy is great, everything is there, but how do we ensure that it is realistic and doable, particularly when you look at teacher training, language, it really requires a revolution. So, and also from where will the money come, As it is now, we are constantly hearing about salaries, etc., and so on. If we could do everything that is there in the national education policy, we would be fantastic. But I think these are some of the challenges, and we need to be careful when we develop position papers that they are realistic.
Actually, for implementation of policy, we have a different strategy, and we need not worry about money. We have to prepare a realistic position paper which will help in preparing your state curriculum framework. That is mostly contextual, and as you know, the guideline for preparing position papers and state curriculum framework already must have been discussed by Professor Ranjana Arora. But we must not be away from the philosophy of the policy, because you see, the policy has its own vision. We are preparing state curriculum framework for implementation of NEP 2020. We should not go beyond that frame. And the basic philosophy, like India-centric education, knowledge society, like focus on local language. So these principles must be reflected while preparing your position papers. And clear-cut guideline has been circulated to you, and Professor Ranjana Arora from NCERT must have discussed with you. So you need not bother for money, because you are not going to present the budget for in your position paper or in your national curriculum framework. And again, state curriculum framework will will provide background for preparing national curriculum framework. So you need not bother for money. You only focus on the basic principles and the vision of the new education policy or recommendations of the policy, and accordingly you prepare your position papers. And you see, you have freedom there where some questions have been given that you collect, you have to answer these questions. So, in the form of answering these questions, you are you should try to reflect the philosophy of national education policy through these answering these questions.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. I just want to add one thing that regarding that how to make this question papers or curriculum frameworks more realistic. Is that like we had it in the first session, and I also mentioned myself, I have been mentioned that this time this curriculum framework, development of question papers in the respective states, it has gone in the bottom-up approach. Considering like it's gone even to have the local flavor. So I think that it will be more realistic in the context that care has been taken, like to understand background realities, like from the to have the local flavor, local context, that to have the background realities. So in that context, I think development of question paper, which will be based on those after this template will be finalized with NCERT, then those background works we have been done to the one of January, February, which we have completed, like the DCR, district constituent reports, and those mobile app survey, and those things will help in making this development of question papers and curriculum frameworks more realistic, I think.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, yes.
Can I ask a question, sir, please?
Let me finish the answer to the previous question, then I'll.
Oh, okay. All right.
So,
All right. It's finished.
I was giving you an example of language education. So now, in the position paper of Meghalaya and the position paper of Assam may be different because you have different languages, and you have to suggest which three languages should be incorporated in your state curriculum framework. That is up to you. Similarly, in vocational education, it is said that every student will have at least one vocation. So, which set of vocations should be there for your state in the curriculum, that you have to mention. So, very thoughtfully, the questions have been prepared in the way of answering questions. The philosophy or need of your state must be reflected in the position paper. So, when you will be preparing your state curriculum framework, these position papers, recommendations will be taken into account. Your question, madam, is there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My name is Esther, sir. I'm from the School Education Board. Sir, thank you very much for that very concise but comprehensive PPT. Sir, I have just one request. You know, sir, you have touched all the areas that that are very important for all the focus groups. So I have just one earnest request, and that is, can you please share these PPT with us, sir, so that because as
sure,
from
sure, madam, yes, madam, I will be sharing the PPT to Madam Bella Sons, the coordinator. And,
okay, sir.
And here you have many things to do because almost in examination, like
Don't worry, we will request our resource persons to kindly share with us, then we can share the group, and also even the this what we have done now, right from the first session will be have been recorded, and we'll share you even the same thing on these videos also.
Okay. Sir.
All right, sir.
Okay.
All right, sir. Thank you, sir, very much. Thank you for that presentation, sir.
Thank you. If there is any question, then also discuss.
Okay, any more questions? Do you have any more questions, please? Having any more questions? So I once again extend my thanks to Professor Nityananda Pradhan. Thank you so much, sir, once again. Yes, sir, thank you. And I think it is time for us to close today's session. And I hand over the session to Dr. Della Soames to kindly give us the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Danibhar. So at the outset, on behalf of the DRT, I would like to thank the Secretary to the Government of Meghalaya Education Department and Chairman of the 3 steering committees, Sri R.R. Rabthap IAS, for his guidance and support. Yes, although we would like to have you here in the midst of the RT, sir, but we know that you're busy. So thank you for joining us through virtual mode. We look forward to take this program successfully under your wise and able leadership. Our special thanks also goes to our Director, Shri J.P. Lakyang, MCS, for your motivation, guidance, and support. Also to Shri P.D. Latang, a Joint Director and Nodal Officer, for being so concerned and passionate in leading the team here in the RT in the development of SCS. At the moment, we cannot but thank the 2 resource persons of this program, Professor Aranjana Arora, Head of Department of Curriculum Studies and Development, NCERT, New Delhi, and also Professor Pradhan from NERI for your valuable insights, which has made this program much more fruitful. Our sincere and special thanks goes to Professor Ranjana also for clarifying the doubts of our esteemed members of the focus group and steering committees during the morning session. Dr. Pradhan, we are really grateful for your valuable inputs on this NEP 2020, which many of us have been benefited. We'd also like to express our thankfulness at this time to all the participants for your active participation, inputs, and for making this program more meaningful with your queries, which has guided us more in taking this program forward. Our thanks also goes to the faculty of the RT, my friends and colleagues here, for all their help and support from time to time. Last but not least, I would like to thank all the support staff, including the EduCert team. They have worked round the clock ensuring that this program is a successful one. So my thanks goes to them, especially at this moment. So with this, we thank you all and have a blessed evening.
I would like to remind our participants to please join us again on the 25th from 2 to 4 for another session on how to conduct focus group discussions. This is a very important topic which will be dealt on that day. So do join us again on the 25th from 2 to 4. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you, madam.
This general topic, which is be useful for us not only in the context of particularly for this SAF, but for other is a general topic to be useful for the other topics or themes that we in life that we have this focus group discussions. So another important session on question papers SCF, like we mentioned this morning, that we'll be having in the first week, maybe on the first week of April, after we confirm with in collaboration with the guidance of CIET, NCERT, regarding the use of technical platform regarding this development of question papers. So that will be on the after we confirm from CIET that how to use this technical platform. The templates are ready, so we'll be integrated with that one. Maybe it takes half or maximum 1 hour for that session. So thank you very much, my part. Have a nice evening.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'll be sending, madam, just now I'll be sending you the presentation. So can I leave the meeting now?
So can you send to the presentation to Madam Dr. De La Fuente, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can you go, sir?
Thank you. Namaskar.